And of course, all of us here, we are bringing in different value to the conversation of African literature and, of course, also the African diaspora literature. You see, what we are doing here is about connection. We are looking for a way to better connect ourselves and also our experiences. The webinar that we are doing is actually an extension of the Obehi podcast. And in the Obehi podcast, we are intentionally deep in that we don't want to be on the surface. I'm not interested in doing a 3 minutes interview where maybe you call a politician and say, okay, you are going to be the one that is in charge of our health. Okay, you have 15 minutes, explain your program. What does that mean? How can you explain a program of the health of the country in 15 minutes? You can't do that. Hey, are you struggling to stand out in your profession? Your story can make all the difference, and it really does for those who know theirs. Want to discover how? Check out our signature program, Own Your Story, a 5-week training to reshape your narrative. The link is what you see on your screen, academy.aclasses.org/story. Now back to the conversation. So here we are intentionally deep because we want to really look at the issue and look at it from different dimensions. If it takes 3 to 4 episodes to do that, we will do it. We are not in haste. So Lady Ejiro, you are really very, very good. Talking about some of this dichotomy in the Nigerian society, the Nigerian narratives, I think we need to face it. We need to take up the responsibility of addressing this situation. It's important for us because if you look to your left, to your right, east to west, nobody else is coming. Nobody else is coming to fix our society for us. It is on us. So we're going to have to talk about it. Take, for instance, you are talking of Osun, that in 2024, there is a caste system in Nigeria. A caste system simply means that there are legally inferior people in the society. How can a country accept that? How can a system accept that? Of course, that system is going to accept that if nobody is complaining about that. That is where we have responsibility. People who can write, use the power of literature to expose those dark parts of our culture, those dark parts of what we regard as a normal way of life. Because there is nothing absolutely normal. Nothing is normal about that. How can you treat other people like you inhumanely like that and you think it's culture? No, it's not culture. There is nothing, that is, okay, you can call it culture, but there are some dirty parts in our culture that we need to clean up so that we can move on. Anyway, I'm not going to spend much of the time there, but I really want to thank you for that. But anyway, hang on. We are coming to your question later on. All right. The next speaker is Dennis Kelly Robert. Are you there? Can you hear me? If not, we will move to the next person. Maybe when you come, you just join. Because she was supposed to be talking about decolonize your storytelling voice. But anyway, that is an important conversation. We'll come back to that. Tarnya, are you ready? All right. Yeah, you are good to go.
Okay, thank you, Obi, for this amazing opportunity just to come and share for a few minutes. And what I want to talk about is your voice matters. And I like what Shara said and Ejiro said about legacy, storytelling, how we frame our words. Absolutely fantastic. And I just want to share with you about your voice matters. And that is so important to remember that your voice matters. So I'm Tarnya, I'm from the UK. And this is me. I'm married. My daughter's going to be 22 next month. My son, 18, been married for 23 years. And I used to be a lecturer in my former life. And then in 2018, God said to give up that and to become a publisher. So I have my own publishing company. We have a team of editors, formatters, and cover designers. It's called TC Publishing. And what I get to do is to use my voice to encourage people to share their story. I get to speak on the radio. I even got to speak on Les Brown's Facebook page with over 1 million people to share my story. And he trained me on how to use my voice to make a greater impact. And this is what I'm now doing, is helping people to write their stories, put it in a book. And as we said about legacy, storytelling, that when we share our stories, it's shared in the right way, not other people sharing our stories and then misrepresenting us. I'm an award winner, and I get to speak all over the world, which is a fantastic opportunity. And I'm also an author of 5 books, and I self-published 4 of my own through my company. And I don't just say all of this to impress you, but I say this to impress upon you that you need to share your story, because it's possible. Your voice matters. And with sharing your story, you get an opportunity that it just blows your mind and where it will take you. And everyone's journey is different. And I get an opportunity to speak to people about their stories. I help them to pen their stories. We get to publish them, put them on Amazon. And I encourage people to travel, put on events, to share their stories, because our stories matter and our voices matter. And with my story, my mum had me when she was 16 and pregnant. This was in the 70s, a massive taboo. And she was told to leave home. Her boyfriend was nowhere on the scene. And that's how our story began. But she didn't allow the negativity, people telling her, oh, foster her, adopt her, and all of that. She said, no, I have something in this world to do. And she wanted to become a social worker. And she was the first person in her family to graduate university and become a social worker. Another part of her dream was to become an author. And she gets to write her books, and she's written her books through my company. And I get to have that privilege of this 16-year-old girl whose dreams and hopes looked like they were dashed, and she was counted out. But God had an amazing thing on her life to be able to share her story. And that is such a powerful thing. And it's giving people hope, giving people answers. And I'm encouraging those on the call and those that will listen later that your story matters, your voice matters, and to share that. And like we said before, about leaving that legacy and that blueprint, because our stories give people hope, it gives people answers. It's like a survival guide that people will follow, and people will know what's been happening in history because of what we have written. And storytelling, like we've said, is such a powerful tool. It brings connection and it brings change. This is why I'm so passionate about storytelling. So when Obehi asked me to share about this, I was like, yes, because we want to tell so many people that your story does matter. This no longer being silenced, no longer thinking my story doesn't matter, it's insignificant, nobody wants to hear it. That's all about our mindset. And we have to serve notice to those negative things. And we have to say, yes, 2024 is the year that I'm going to write my book. Why? Because it's going to inspire people. It's going to educate people. It's going to empower people. Yes, your story. And you may think it's insignificant, but because it's our story, oh, it's just happened. But when other people read it, they can see themselves in that story. Like Ejiro said, they can see themselves in that, knowing that there is hope, knowing that we can inspire other people, and we can write these things down, that people don't forget what happens in our history. And it's such a powerful tool, which is the fundamental tool for our culture and for our identity. But when we're wanting to share our stories, there comes across barriers. And this is what this was quite interesting when I came across this article, and it was talking about Black people, people of colour, and barriers when it comes to writing their stories. And I'm just going to share with you what I found. And with this storytelling, sorry, not the storyteller, just bear with me a moment. I came across this article and it said about Black people being underrepresented in storytelling, in sharing their stories. And we have amazing Black authors like Renee, Bernardine, and they've had UK bestsellers. And recent prestigious awards have been won by a Black writer called Candice Carty-Williams, who wrote the book Queenie, which is now on the TV and it's become a series. And she won an award and she was proud of her achievement, but also sad and confused on discovering she was the first Black author to win the award in its 25th year history. And we need to change that narrative. This is why Obehi's put on these events, because we can change the narrative. We can change the story by us writing our stories and sharing that with others to let them know it's important to share your stories. And from this article that I was reading, they did a survey and they said that Black authors are still underrepresented, and there's a lack of representation. And when they did this survey, there was 330 responses and 128 in-depth interviews, and the key barrier was ingrained perceptions amongst decision makers. And they said that there is a limited market for diverse books, and books written by Black authors just don't sell. And this is the perception across the industry. And this has a knock-on effect on who gets published. And they say that people of colour can only write about race issues. And this is ingrained in them. But we can change the narrative. And I just want to encourage people that are listening that we're not going to let these barriers set us back. We're not going to allow the barriers to set us back, because we're not going to allow a setback to let us sit back. We have to make a comeback. And the way that we're going to make a comeback is by writing our stories, that we can change those narratives and say there's been a spike in Black authors. People do want to read their stories. People do want to read about history. And I just want to give you some practical steps. So you're thinking, okay, Tarnya, I've heard everyone speaking. I'm fired up to share my story. I want to do it. What are the practical steps? Because we're going to overcome these barriers and we're going to start writing our story. And if you've started, we're going to finish it. We're going to be people that finish writing our story, getting it out there and sharing it with the world. Why? Because your voice matters. And these are some practical steps that I want to give you on what you can do. Very basic. I'm not going to tell you anything new under the sun, but sometimes we need to be reminded of what we need to do. So start with a clear idea and an outline of what you want to write. What part of your history do you want to write? Maybe you want to share your parents' story, your grandparents' story, some part of history, whatever that is. Have an idea, write it down, and then establish a writing routine. And I share with my clients just writing 20 minutes a day. Over 90 days, the first draft of your book will be done. So by the end of September, your first draft of your book can be done when you take these steps. So have a clear idea of what you want to write, do an outline, establish a writing routine, set realistic goals and deadlines. And there's two things that I want to say that are key. Stay committed and stay motivated. What is the reason why you want to write your book? Because we want to leave a legacy. We want our words are going to outlive us. We want to leave our words in history that people can read about how it happened, the correct way, how we're represented in the right way. And then...
Thank you for watching. Are you enjoying the video? Let us know in the comment section. My mission is to help professionals like you to own their story. What would that do for you, you might ask? Well, it helps you make your competition irrelevant. Want to learn more? Check out our signature program, Own Your Story, a 5-week training to reshape your narrative. The link is what you see on your screen, academy.aclasses.org/story. Now back to the conversation.
Looking at, then you've written it, it's end of September, you want to get it published. I'm a self-publishing publisher. and you go to the publisher, but make sure you do your due diligence, you check them out first, and then it's about professional editing, professional cover design, having it formatted, and looking at doing a book launch and thinking of all these things, because writing our story is fantastic, and it's how now we get it out there. How do we then share this with others? How do we let people know about our history, about our stories, and how we're represented in the right way so people can see these things? And it's all about marketing and promoting. And these are the strategies that we can use. And here's some things that you can do. Social media. You can get on social media. You can speak about your book, aspects of your book. You can have an email list, a dedicated website. You can leverage book reviews and endorsements. You can host events like this in person, online, sharing that message of your history, of your story. Why? Because your voice matters. And it's time that we rise up and that we speak out, because our voices need to be heard. Some success stories of Black authors, because they are out there. And we need to search them out, because this is going to motivate us to keep on going, to leave that legacy behind. And I recently went to watch a play with my goddaughter. It was about the Windrush, and he was sharing his parents' story of what it was like to leave Jamaica in the 40s, come to England to rebuild Britain. But the struggle was real, but how they overcame it. And he's written a book. He now travels the world sharing his story, because his voice matters. He's going into schools, he's shaping the curriculum, and children are now learning about Black history, which is absolutely fantastic, in the right way, the correct way. Another lady that I met, Lola, her books are in the bookstores. She's traveling the world. She's on podcasts, doing amazing things. Your book will open doors for you. We don't know what doors they will open, but they will open doors. And we all have our different assignments to do. So it's really important to look at successful Black authors and success. What does that mean? What does that look like? And Earl Nightingale said that success is when you are doing something that you have purposed in your mind to do, and you're doing it, that is success. Obehi has had a mission for people to be educated on sharing their stories, and he's doing that. And that's success for him. And this is some of my TC Publishing authors and their stories. And I get to help them to write it, to publish it. And the amazing thing is, sometimes going to their events, they're speaking for the first time, they're sharing their story, they're going on national radio, they're going on national TV, they're even shaping curriculums. One of my authors, they've even gone to bestsellers, which is amazing. People are getting to know their stories, and then people are traveling the world. One of my authors came from America, came to the UK, went on tour for 3 weeks, traveling the world, sharing her story. How powerful is that? One of the other ladies, she wrote a book called Break Free. Now it's in the curriculum in Ipswich. How fantastic is that? She's done a curriculum for the whole year group for 25 schools, just because she wrote her story, and now it's been shared far and wide. So I'm encouraging you that your voice matters. If you want to learn more about what I do, you can go to my website. You can have a free 15-minute consultation. Just click on the button. And if you want a first chapter of my book, which is called Arise and Shine, Author's Devotional, you can email me and I will get that out to you. And if you want the full thing, it's available on Amazon. But my thing that I do want to encourage and leave you with is that your voice matters. With the right tools and the right strategies, you can write your story, you can pen your story, and you can share this with the world. Whatever your mission is, you can share that, and you'll have those strategies, and you can share this with people, because your voice matters. So I look forward to hearing all about your stories and how all of us can support you on your journey. Your voice matters, and we want to leave a legacy behind and leave it in history where we are represented in the right way. Thank you.
Wow, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful, Tanya. These are messages that don't come around every day. And this is why I'm very proud of all of you ladies that are sharing this room today with me. This is really a beautiful moment. This is a beautiful moment. I think that the best work that we can do is to leave a good legacy behind. And we need to do this consciously, in that we know that we are really doing this. Now, I want to share something with us. The other day, I was interviewing an associate professor in the US. I think what that guy said remained very important for me till now. In all the interviews that I've done over 1,000 interviews in the course of my research and also the Obehi podcast. So this really stand out because we're talking about African identity. And it says something that really sounds so true, and it is uncontested. You know, truth is uncontested. It is when something is not true that you need to say a lot of things to justify it. It's talking about personhood. In that a person is not just an individual in and of itself, and that is the end of it. That a person, at least see from an African perspective, is a human being who is connected to what have happened before him. Therefore, the ancestors, those who have shaped the role that you are in. You know, think about what I was saying before, the contour line, that village road that you need to travel to get to the farm and come back. You didn't create that road. I want to repeat that. You did not create that footpath. That footpath has been there. It was created by other people. You see, something as simple as food, like I was saying before, you did not invent it. Somebody have experimented on it, and they tell you this is food, you can eat it. So that is before. That is what have happened before. But the definition of this individual also include the unborn, people that are going to be born tomorrow. They are part of who you are as a person. Now, that might be very simple for somebody to understand. Okay, what does that mean now? What does that mean? Okay, I tell you what that means. Let's take a country in Africa, for example, and let's for a moment reflect. Say a governor in Nigeria or a president or a minister is aware that this is a definition of a human being, then it wouldn't make sense that he steal his money of the people that belong to the people and go hide in Switzerland or in the US, or go buy a big flat that he will never live in UK. Why? Because by doing that, he's creating poverty for the land. And if the people that are going to live in this land are part of who he is as a person, it means he is creating suffering for himself. Why would he do that? It is doing that because he doesn't know himself. That is a very simple explanation of a person, a personhood. So that we are talking about legacy here. What is legacy? We are trying to leave a message behind so that other people can find life easier. They will remember us. You see, it is said that we live forever. Yes. But how do we live forever? Not in our flesh and skin and bone. We live forever in memory. The memory that we build is going to continue to live in other people who will remember us. When you think of Marcus Garvey and you know what he has done, if you know what he has done, by making mention of him, meaning Marcus Garvey is alive, because you will evoke his name. And by evoking his name, his memory becomes fresh in you. The people that are not born, even in his time, come to know him. But see, if Marcus Garvey didn't do anything that will make us to remember him, we will not remember him. Do you know what? There were many people that lived in the time of Marcus Garvey. Why are we not talking about them? We are talking about legacy. You deciding what you will be remembered for in the time to come. It is your choice. So book writing is, I don't know if any person have taken the time to look at the philosophy of Marcus Garvey. Just take out that book and smell it. These are people deciding what their message is going to mean in the future to come. They are not making mistakes. They are intentional about it. That is why in AClasses Media, we are intentional about our life and legacy series. We know that we are doing this for people. For example, this room that we are doing, we are intentionally recording it, knowing that even when we die tomorrow, people are going to have access to this. This time we are seizing it. This moment is going to be, we are literally immortalizing it forever. So that somebody is going to make a reflection of this. Okay, you might say, well, in 50 years from now, 500 years from now, things are going to change. Nobody's going to care about books. You are right. People might not care about the paper. The paper, I mean, this kata. People might not care about this. But what about the content, the information inside? What people really care about are the information inside. You see, when the Egyptians were painting on the wall, that was the highest at the time. But you see, we don't need to paint on the walls anymore because we have developed different technology of today, AI, writing, and all of that. What do you think we did? We go there and copy that. We just simply copy what they have done. Therefore, the message is not lost. Do you want people to copy what you have done to their new technology? Because 500 years from now, nobody will use this computer anymore. The microphone I'm using to talk to you will be, people will laugh at it that this is what we were using there to talk. They will invent other way of communicating. But what we are saying now, the information we are intentionally creating is not going to be lost. It's not going to be outdated. Because we are talking about the human being. So I'm intentional here, and I'm thanking all of you from the depth of my heart for being here and for sharing your experiences. Thank you so much. All right, so I think I was seeing Dennis coming in. Dennis, can you hear me? Roberts?
My apologies, Obehi.
It's okay, no problem.
I was having some technical problems.
I can feel that. I can feel that. So the mic is yours now. Wait a second. Let me just stermize. Let me just put your camera better. Okay, sister, you're onto the races. Go.
Is it possible for me to share my slides?
Of course. Go ahead.
All right. I think.
Though would I love to see you better. The way you are now is just beautiful. But anyway, it's fine.